And I would go, okay, yeah, you don't want to be a burden. And then I ran across Galatians 6, and it says, cast your burdens on one another, bear your burdens on one another that you fulfill the law of Christ. And I thought, I think that's something different than we've been saying. And I'll go to the person, I'll say, this, you don't want to be a burden. No, I take burdens. I'm a leader. I'm a coach. I don't want to be a burden. I say, well, look at this Bible passage here. You're a burden. Get over it. Accept your burdenness. And they'll go through this kind of I don't know, they kind of go through a crisis of, I feel like a high need person and I'm going to drain everybody. I say, you're not that person. You're not going to drain everybody to death. But you got to get over the fact that, your needs are blessed. And if you're keeping people from taking your burdens, you're not letting them fulfill the law of Christ, which is the law of love. And they'll go away. I'll give them a homework assignment as a coach. So I want you to go to 3 people besides spouse and dog and God and say something like, can we have lunch? And I need to talk about some struggle. Maybe something with my kid or with my income or with my new job or whatever. Just a little struggle. And see what happens. And they'll go in kind of anxious, like, oh, they're going to tell me I'm a high need person, high maintenance. And they'll come back and they'll go, you won't believe what happened. I talked to Jim, my buddy, and he said, I am more than happy to listen to you. You have no idea that most of the time in our relationship, you are such a blessing to me. And for me to have the privilege of giving back, just listening, being there, caring about you, praying for you, giving wisdom, it is an awesome thing. And they'll come back with their minds blown because they did not realize they were wired to have needs. And if you want to be a world changer, you got to get those needs met.
Yeah. We need to be needy.
We need to be needy. Get over it.
That's right. That's right. So I look at my relational nutrients sort of as a tank, like an air cylinder that would be, either empty or full or moderately full. I try to keep my relational tank moderately full with my life team, as you've taught me.
Mm-hmm.
But some relationships are fueling to us, and then some are draining to us.
Mm-hmm.
And you talk about this a little bit in your book. Can you help us understand how we can assess whether they're fueling or draining to us?
Yeah. After you had an hour with them, do you feel like winning the world or do you feel like taking a nap? That's a quick and dirty way to do it, Ryan.
Yeah.
I have a concept in the Bible. I have a concept in the book called the 7 C's to help clarify this for people, that there are these levels of gain versus drain, depending on the kind of person they are, to make it easy for somebody to kind of think through, where am I putting my time, my strokes? And by the way, having people in your life that drain you is not all bad. If you've got a 6-month-old baby, that baby's going to drain you, and they should. Their job is draining us until they've grown up a little bit. So drains aren't always bad, but it's the way the drains are done. Now, and I'll explain that. The 7 C's start with the topmost nutrient-rich environment, and they end up with the most nutrient drain. The top one is what I call coaches. And coaches is anybody who has a specialty that's good to conveying that. It could be executive coach, music coach. It could be a sports coach. It could be a family coach. It could be a spiritual director, a counselor. But they have no need for you to be their buddy because this is what they do. And their whole time is spent to help you develop. That's a high nutrient type of relationship. The second one is what we would just call basically our comrades, like our comrades in arms. And this is the life team that you referred to that I talk about in the book. This is 3 to 7, sometimes up to 10 people who know it all about you, care about you, would never judge you, but they want to help you and tell you the truth and grow together with you. And those are invaluable. That's another high nutrient dense type of relationship. The third one is what I just call casuals. And those are those people, maybe your next door neighbor, or somebody your kids all play soccer together and you got to know them, they're nice people, or somebody you like at church, but you don't see them a lot, don't go very deep, but they're just positive, kind people. And they can lighten your load up for the day. And sometimes that leads to them being a farm team where you kind of think, maybe they need to be on my committed life team because they're so good for me. That's the next level. The next level is colleagues. And now you can't always pick the people you work with. not all the time, but I can tell you the research says that the best, as much as you can get involved in it, the ones that are good at relationships and they're competent in what they do and they work well on teams, stay around those people. Good relationally, good competency-wise, and work well on teams. They'll make your day better. Then you go down to the next level. Now I want to move to a little more of the drain, but it's not a bad drain. And that's what the C called care, C-A-R-E, care. Those are the people who are just without. I mean, they don't have what they need. Anything from, someone in a developing country, some ministry or some organization that doesn't have any kind of resources like we have in the States, and they need your help and your being there and your wisdom and your funding and your time. Or maybe some business associate who is younger than you or maybe new in your business and says, I don't know how to do what you do. You've been to places, you've achieved so-and-so in terms of revenue and stature, and can you mentor me? That's another kind of a care relationship. Sometimes it's just somebody in your life is having a hard time. But we're all supposed to care. I mean, Jesus said, the poor you'll always have with you. We have a responsibility. Or as the great prophet Stan Lee, who wrote Spider-Man, said, with great power comes great responsibility. We have a responsibility. Yet at the same time, we have to realize that we can't do it all. And then the next level is chronic. Now, this is a little tougher one. Now, chronic has to do with someone who has unending problems and unending crises and losing jobs and horrible relational conflicts and family things and health things. And so many of them, they just don't learn the lessons they need to learn about life. They're not bad people. They're not mean people. They have what I would call a flat learning curve. I mean, if you've tried to mentor a chronic and time after time you're spending your Saturday morning with them instead of seeing your kids play soccer, but, and you give them, advice and you give them a Bible verse and you pray for them and then they go out and they ruin their lives again and again because they got a flat learning curve. Now, you and I both have Southern roots and in the South we call that, bless their hearts. Just how's Sam doing? Well, bless his heart. We know what we're going to say about, he just messed up again. And what I found out about leaders and coaches and high capacity people, Ryan, is that most of the time we get tied up there. Most of our energy kind of goes down that drain, and we've got to learn how to limit that because it limits all the things we can do. Because we're compassionate, we want to help, but some people you have to have a few more limits and less availability with sometimes. And then the seventh one is the darkest. It's called basically contaminants. It's people that make your life worse. And they're not just foolish people. They're bad people. I believe that there's evil in the world. I wish I didn't, but I do. And these are people who are envy-based, and they don't like to see successful people. And so they tear up organizations and nonprofits and churches and families, and they can tear you up too. And you have to have very severe limits with them. Do not spend too much time with a contaminant because they have deep, deep character pathologies that really are looking to make themselves feel better when others do worse. Now, here the thing about it is you got a podcast for people that are